The 2020 Tokyo Olympics have come and gone, and I want to share with you some of my favorite financial stories from the Games. These Olympics were unique in a lot of ways. It's the first Olympics to be postponed by a year, making it the 2020 Olympics in the year 2021. It was also the first Olympics to be held with no spectators. We saw the Philippines win their first gold medal, where the country celebrated Heidelin Diaz's win in style by showering her with millions of dollars of prizes, including tens of millions of pesos of cash, free flights for life from multiple airlines, a free car, free petrol for life from a petrol chain, free food from too many restaurants and food chains to even compile, as well as at least 3 properties. Oddly, the foreign media dramatically underreported all the prizes that she received. I believe because they ran their stories off the same information that was the initial information and didn't update as more and more prizes were added, rather than there being any ulterior motive to this, as it actually decreases the value of the story. The athletes don't actually win any money from the Olympics itself other than the actual medals that they receive. A lot of countries pay minimal or no prizes for winning a medal, which highlights how big this payout is to the Philippines' first gold medalist. However, athletes who do make a name for themselves during the Games will get endorsement deals in every country, which can be worth a lot of money. But unfortunately, even if you win a gold medal in a sport that isn't really that well watched, you might not get that much at all. While some athletes are making millions of dollars from endorsements, some Olympic athletes, even from first world countries, struggle to make it. Take, for example, US Olympian Sam Mattis, a discus thrower. Though he graduated from the prestigious University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School in 2016 with a degree in economics and had a lucrative job offer at JP Morgan Chase. Since 2016, Mattis has lived off between $25,000 and $35,000 a year, with sources of income ranging from unemployment to tutoring to doing marketing for a local pharmacist. To stretch his income, he's been living in beat-up apartments, driving old used cars, and buying groceries at nearby farmers' markets, because it was cheaper than going to the supermarket. He receives a $12,000 annual stipend from USA Track and Field. In a survey of nearly 500 elite athletes spread across 48 countries, an athletes' rights group found that 58% said they did not consider themselves financially stable. Even more said they did not receive the appropriate amount of financial compensation from the International Olympic Committee, or the national federations that send them to the Games and other major events. Some of the athletes said, "Can't train without funds, but trying to work around training is not easy and continually told if you miss sessions you don't get selected. No stable job, living off casual work, supported by my mum, my sport provides no money for me. Paycheck depends on how I perform at a major championships once every 2 to 4 years. If I do not perform well in one moment, I cannot financially support myself." And 58% answered yes when asked if the IOC should pay athletes to attend its events. What sport an athlete competes in largely impacts their availability to get endorsement deals. Which leads into the story that these Olympics saw the introduction of Rule 40, a major move for the athletes where they can actually earn money from sponsored social media posts. Until 2019, athletes couldn't post sponsored social media posts during the Games. Whilst they can now, they aren't allowed to mention the Games or use its logos unless the company is an official sponsor of the Games or their national team. The track teams have been running really fast, and 400-meter hurdles for both men and women were considered among the best races ever run. It turns out the track cost $1.5 million and is specially designed to mimic the shock absorption of a trampoline. US sprinter Ronnie Baker described it as like, "I'm walking on clouds." The athletic shoes used have also been called into question as Nike released controversial Super Spikes, a super light shoe that contains super responsive foam. Then we had the TV viewership. NBC's TV viewership was down so much that NBC has been hustling to schedule make goods or extra commercial time for jilted advertisers following the low ratings. The ratings were reported down up to 60% most nights. However, one thing I think that was missed in a lot of the coverage about this is that I read was the time zone factor. Japan is not the ideal time zone for the US. Meanwhile, here in Australia, our time is close enough to theirs and therefore the ratings weren't the same disaster. That being said, Channel 7 in Australia had the rights and they wrote off $70 million before the games even started in an acknowledgement that they had overpaid for the rights. Which is significant when you consider the amount that they paid was only $100 million in total, meaning they wrote off 70% of what they paid before it even started. However, the games actually turned into a rating success for them. We've exceeded our expectations on revenue and we've certainly met the budget number that was there, Channel 7's Chief Revenue Officer said. Again, I think the importance of time zone cannot be understated. In the US, their women's soccer team's failure to make the gold medal game, which had been set at a strange time because the US broadcasters had requested it, is another example of where NBC just got unlucky. Locally in Japan, even though there was a lot of negativity about the games, TV viewership for the opening ceremony of the Tokyo Olympics averaged 56.4% in the capital and its surrounding areas, the highest for the event since the previous Tokyo Olympics in 1964. This is despite the games having a lot of negativity locally, including how experts are suggesting Japan could lose $30 billion on the games. Economist and author on the economics of hosting Olympics, Andrew Zimbalist, predicts they spent $35 billion on the games and can only expect to make back $4.5 to $5 billion. With just postponing the games costing $5 million itself due to having to renegotiate contracts, expenses for facilities, and public health measures. Overall, personally, I enjoyed the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, and I gotta say, being in the right time zone really helped. There were a lot of events that I watched that if they were on in the middle of the night, there is no way I would have been staying up because I'm not that interested. But when it's on during a reasonable times, it was actually great to watch. Well, that's my review of some of the big financial stories from the Tokyo 2020 games. If you enjoyed this, please chuck me a like and subscribe to see more like it, and as always, good luck. And if you made it this far, you'll enjoy one of these videos too.